ASTM C-172 Standard Practice for Sampling Freshly Mixed Concrete.
Taking the appropriate representative sample is the first step in the process of testing freshly mixed concrete. If the sample is not taken correctly, the rest of the steps of the process are not acceptable regardless of how you perform the testing. Having an area to perform the required tests and a place to cure your cylinders appropriately should be determined before you begin the testing. You've only got 5 minutes to begin the temperature, slump, and air tests. You've only got 15 minutes to start making samples from your composite sample if you're making compressive strength cylinders. Where you take your sample, where you're required to put your cylinders, how long it will take to unload the concrete, how much concrete will be delivered or produced, testing frequencies, ticket information are all part of the process that should be determined ahead of time if at all possible. Remember that the cylinders are only as good as the sample of the concrete that is taken. This standard covers procedures of taking representative samples of concrete from stationary mixers, paving mixers, and revolving truck mixers. In all cases, the elapsed time shall not exceed 15 minutes between the first and final portions of the composite sample. Regardless of what type of mixer you are sampling from, the following rules apply. Transport the samples to the place where the tests are to be performed or where the test specimens are to be molded. It is that location where the sample will be remixed with a shovel to ensure uniformity. The tests for temperature, slump, and air are to be started within 5 minutes after obtaining the final portion of your composite sample. Start molding samples within 15 minutes after the final portion of the composite sample is taken. The sample is to be protected from contamination, sun, wind, rain, or any other forms of evaporation. If making test specimens, the minimum sample size shall be 1 cubic foot. For the purpose of this video, we will be taking a sample from a revolving truck mixer, and the procedures for this standard are as follows.
1. Make sure all the water is added to the mixer before sampling from the truck. 2. Sample the truck in 2 or more regularly spaced intervals from the middle of the batch not to exceed 15 minutes between the first and final portion. In all cases, no sample should be taken before 10% or after 90% of the batch has been discharged. 3. Repeatedly pass the receptacle through the entire discharge stream, or completely divert the discharge stream into the sample container, in this case, a wheelbarrow. 4. If making concrete cylinders, a minimum of 1 cubic foot is required. 5. Make sure the sample container is covered to protect the concrete from the elements. 6. Transport the sample to where the tests are to be performed. 7. Combine and remix with a shovel. 8. If the concrete contains a maximum size aggregate larger than the test method allows, then the concrete will need to be wet sieved through the appropriate sieve size. 9. Start tests for temperature, slump, and air within 5 minutes of obtaining the final portion of the composite sample. 10. Start molding cylinders within 15 minutes after fabricating composite sample.